Hey everybody, it is me, Jamie Radiance Moorhead, and I am super excited for another podcast, another I Wasn't Taught to Be a Wife podcast. We have a special guest, and her name is Tamiah Luster. She is a transitional coach, life coach. See, I already messed up the screen like that. Like I thought I had it all together. So, anyways, I apologize. I am super excited to have Miss Tamiah Luster, and you guys know I'm gonna let her introduce herself. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Okay.
great. Hi, I am Mrs.Tamiah Luster. I am a faith-based influencer, and then I'm also a transitional life coach. I am accredited internationally by the ICF and certified as well. And what I do is just coach women who desire to take life head on,
Oh
especially through
wow.
transitions in life, whether it
Hmm.
be becoming a new mother, maybe ended relationships, familial situations, anything. We go through so many transitions as women. So my goal is just to be that support, that open ear, that person that just motivates you to push through that transition, knowing God is right by your side. So through faith, building self awareness, discovering confidence in your purpose. And I do that through Clarity with Me coaching, privately one to one. And then I also host workshops and things of that sort as well.
I needed you when I went through my breakup. Like you just said that you were like transitioning through a
Girl, let's talk
breakup.
about it. Let's talk about it. Yes.
So I might still need you. I'm just saying.
I'm here.
We'll talk after. I didn't that's beautiful. I hope that everybody just heard exactly what she helps with different transitions and that you take advantage of all of that she can do for you because we need a shoulder to talk to and
Yeah.
cry on and vent to when we are leaving any situation and going to the next. So
Hmm.
I have a couple questions. And my first question for you is how long have you been married?
I have been married for 5 years. My,
5 years.
yeah, yeah, girl.
Congratulations.
I am like out of the newlywed phase, I think. I think once you get to 5 years, you're like, I'm not seasoned. I ain't seasoned yet. But, I'm cooking. I have a little salt and pepper. My husband and I, we got married in 2019, February 19th of 2019. So literally,
Okay.
we're fresh 5 years.
Really? That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my
Hmm.
God, that type of stuff makes me so excited to hear because, yeah, they said 5 years, and then there's like the 7 year, what do you call
Hmm.
that?
I don't know. I'm still learning because
Oh,
you're gonna ask me my next question.
yes. Did anyone ever teach you to be a wife?
Um, Directly, I would say no.
Okay.
I will say though that both of my grandmothers were married, are not were, both of them are married. Am I here still? I don't know. I can't see myself anymore. I don't
Yeah,
know if
you're
you can see me.
supposed to be. I was trying to make you big, and then, here we go.
It's okay.
Um,
These things happen. I'll wait till they can see me. Okay, I'm back.
I was trying to make you big.
Hey.
Are you back?
I am back. I am.
That is so insane to me. So I definitely can't do big. All right, we're good. We'll just stay just like
We're
this the
good.
whole time then. All right. I just wanted you to have like the full attention. That's all. So okay,
Oh,
that's
thank you. We can
it's not
share
gonna
space
happen.
here.
It's okay.
We can share space here.
We're sharing a space.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say like no, there was nobody that had a conversation with me about hey, when you become a wife, when you're
Mm,
working towards you're now in your late teens, you're in college. These are the things you
right.
should think of because hopefully after college or in college you meet your husband. I didn't have conversations like that, but I definitely did look up to both of my grandmothers from both my mother and
Okay.
father's side growing up, not in sense of like they're being wives, but just who they are in general. And
Right.
being a wife is part of their identity. Um,
Okay.
and I learned things that I personally do not want to, do, as well as things that I absolutely admire about
Okay.
them. Um, But even those conversations, I mean, now they talk to me and I get to witness like the women they are. And I believe I learned
Mhm.
that way. But, there are some women that can sit there and say, like, no, I learned how to be a wife. When I was in the kitchen, it was
Yeah.
intentional that I was learning how to take care of a home and things of that sort. I come from a Caribbean family. So they are very much about taking care of the home, wash, cook, clean, laundry, but they also both worked full-time jobs, so they are
Really?
bosses. They're
You said
bosses.
Caribbean family, so
Yes.
what are you?
I'm Trinidadian and Grenadian. Yeah.
Really? I am Belizean.
Well, my West
Right?
Indian girly.
Yes. When you said that, I was like,
Yeah. So they are
what?
very much into their roles. Like they're very much into their roles in the West Indies, but it's more so of visual of like
Yes.
see one, teach one kind of thing, but not really sitting down because nobody wants to talk about sex, nobody wants to talk about all these things.
Right.
But I
That
did
is so
have good
fun.
examples in them.
And I will have to say that too. So when I started this, remember I told you the name kind of was offensive, and I felt like my mom would be offended just by the name because, again, her example of a wife was amazing, and I
Hmm.
have to say that, but we never sat down and talked about it.
Yeah,
So, like you said, I have wife attributes. I experience what a wife looks like, but we never
not with intention,
exactly.
which is hard
Okay,
for
all
a
right.
mom to hear.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. But then she actually have been making her give her testimony. And the other day she said, I was offended when my daughter made that podcast,
Wow.
but and I didn't know she was offended, but I could feel it. You know how
Hmm.
you know how Caribbean mamas will let you know
You feel
without
it.
letting you know.
It's very loud, the silence.
But she said, I wonder if I was even ever taught. But was I really taught to be?
Mm,
Now my mom has been married, but when she said that, I was like, well, that
wow.
makes me feel better because I
Look at
knew
you pushing reflection into multiple generations.
which which was not easy because
Mm,
I remember I told you she made you feel it, you know. she,
yeah.
she made
She made you feel it.
so yeah, this is a good part for you to go in and tell us your story. Tell us your story.
Yes.
This is great.
So I am Tamiah. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, East Flatbush, which is predominantly West Indian people. So I've grown up around Jamaicans, Trinidadians, everything you
Mhm.
name it. A life of doing, carnival in the summer, dressing up in costumes. I grew up dancing. My passion definitely has always been in the arts. So I started dancing
Mhm.
at the age of 3, the tender age of 3, and I danced all the way professionally into college. Yes, I
That's
danced into
crazy.
college. So I actually went into college as a dance major. Like I was going to graduate bachelor
Wow.
in fine arts, and then dance my way through life. So of course we know God laughs at our plans. So I still love dance. I still dance, just to feed that craving every now and
Mhm.
then because my heart is there. Um, but while I was in college, I noticed that I love the freeness that dance gave me, and the program that I
Mhm.
was in, amazing program, one of the best in the United States. But for me, I noticed like dance frees me, and I want to do it in a way where I have more control over it. And I
Right.
also noticed that I grew up around a lot of nurses, and I love to care for people. So I was like, I want to do nursing. But my school at the
Mhm.
time, Montclair State
Mhm.
University, is my alma mater. They didn't have a nursing program as yet; they were just starting it. So I said, I also love the mind. I love to know how people think. I've
Mhm.
always been the therapist friend, the Dr. Phil friend. So I went ahead out of nowhere, which shocked all of my family, my loved ones, my dance mentors, my trainers that they have trained me through auditions for years. I switched up on them. I pivoted. I got a degree in psychology, and
Wow. That's a
loved it.
big
I
change. Like,
Big change. Big. Well, you know what? I think that dance is very expressive, and we were always told to go into what our minds were feeling and let our bodies tell it. So I think I
mm,
always thought about expressing myself and making sure that an audience could feel me through my
Right.
dancing. At least I was raised dancing with Creative Outlet Dance Theater of Brooklyn, which there's a lot of profound dancers that come from that company. And they always said you need to feel what you're doing. When we did
Mhm.
Black History Month, we did a show called Remembering, where we literally embodied the experiences of slavery. With our
Wow.
bodies, like making a slave ship, and like it's just always going into the mind and finding different ways to express. So it
Right.
wasn't a big shocker to me. I was like, I love the mind. I love to talk. So let's do psych. But at the moment, it really was a segue into the nursing program because I would be able
Okay.
to take my psychology classes, which I loved. It fed my mind, but also do my prerequisites for nursing.
Right.
Um, in that, I did that for the rest from sophomore year to senior year. Senior year, though, ending of junior year, I got pregnant. Um, I got pregnant right after, and that's why I said God lasted our plans because I got pregnant about
Mhm.
2 semesters after I had changed my dance major. And if I was still a dance major,
Mhm.
college would have been on pause for me
Yep.
because
For
you
sure.
cannot dance
Oh,
pregnant. Like my whole
wow.
college career would have been, my whole career
Wasted.
idea, period,
Yeah.
would have been done. I wouldn't have been able to continue school. So God
Look
already knew.
yeah, look at him protecting you, like, he even protected your
Yeah,
mind because he knows that that would have crushed.
it would have crushed me. It would have crushed me because academics is also very important to me. Like I joined
Right.
a sorority in college that was like really just, they focused on academic excellence and all these things, and
Mhm.
it just would have been really hard on me. But I made it through my entire senior year pregnant, with Amir, who is our my
Congratulations.
me and my husband's first son, and graduated high honors 4.0. My husband actually was in boot camp at my graduation, but he made sure
Wow.
that I still felt every accomplishment. College didn't change for me. My friends were absolutely amazing. Like whether it was from, if
Okay.
you have class on this end of the of campus, you're not walking because I lived like slightly off campus. You're not walking all the way over there. You come lay in my dorm, so that
Oh,
it was very loving. If we had
yes.
meetings, my favorite cravings were at the meeting. If they had dorm parties, they had apple cider. Okay.
Oh, they
So
loved
they
you.
love me. They
Yes.
still do. But yeah, that was like early getting into adulthood. We
Mhm.
had a mayor, graduated immediately, girl. Adulthood, it was like no transition like some of my friends have had from college life to now you're creeping into adulthood. No, 3 months after having a mayor, my husband, who actually was supposed to go into the NFL, he wanted to do football. He got an
Mhm.
injury.
Oh, wow.
Switched off. I'm sorry, can you still hear me? My
Yes.
service switched off. Yes, I
Okay.
was saying, um, sorry, I'm saying I'm a lot.
Yeah, he stopped
So
and he got an injury is
he
where
got
I
an
s
injury.
yep.
Yes. So he got
I think it did it again.
okay.
Because yeah, you're frozen on my end. Where did it stop for you? Oh, no. Alright. I think we're having technical difficulties. Okay, we good?
We're back. It
We're
was me.
back.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
It is okay.
It was me. But that's the enemy. That's the enemy. Because it's starting
Yes,
right as I start to discuss my marriage.
your husband. Yeah, well,
But we
yeah.
won't let that happen. So we are covered in the blood of Jesus. So he had an
Amen.
injury. He had an
Okay.
injury, so that means no more, NFL. So immediately, he's always wanted to go to the military. He hops right into the Navy. So now I am at this point. I haven't even graduated college yet. I'm in my
Mhm.
last semester, but he's graduated that December. Amir is born 5 weeks early. I almost died because I got preeclampsia suddenly.
Oh,
So
wow.
my OBGYN said I was literally on a threat. Like they didn't know whether I would live or not. Um, so very traumatic. And about 3 months later, he's away to boot camp. But before boot camp, um, February,
Mhm.
February 14th, he comes home from meeting his recruiter and he's like, okay, I'm going to the Navy. But I don't want to go to the Navy and you are not my wife. before this, we had no conversation, girl, around. We knew we wanted to be married to each other. Hold up,
Yeah.
we did, but there was no hint, no inkling that it would happen then.
Right.
I had no like. He
No,
came home
yeah.
from that recruiter and he was like, I know this is probably not how you dreamed of it being
Oh,
asked, but like, will you marry me? Like, I don't want to go into this and you're not my wife and we cannot do this the right way.
right.
Amir was 3 months. So February 14th, I was engaged. February 19th, I was married.
Wait, hold on. Wait. That's
Yes,
5 days,
5 days,
right?
5 days,
And you've been married for 5 years.
5 years.
I just wanted to say that out loud for you. Like, okay.
Yes. So you could imagine though, like
Hmm.
I was 21, 3-month-old baby, postpartum after a very traumatic delivery.
Right.
And my husband is leaving. He's going to boot camp, no phone, just letters. And he was there for it's only supposed to be 8 weeks. He was there for 12. So I graduated
Right.
without him. Amir took his first steps, ate his first food bowl, everything. So I was like sending pictures of
Yeah.
Amir, writing letters. But we've been from our very beginning, like pushing through adversity, right? Like that just started at the jump for us. Is just
Right.
like apart and pushing through adversity. Even with college, we didn't go to the same college. He was
Oh,
at Stony Brook. I was at Montclair. So we were over 3 hours apart. We were long distance. He's from Dallas, Texas. I'm from New York City. So even on
right.
college breaks, we were apart from each other. And now we're married and we're apart from each other. And we don't have any
Mm,
counsel. We have nobody that's like, this is how you do this,
wow.
you know? And he comes back and he's like a different person. And that's when we went through really hard patch for about 3 years. We have another son named Aiden now, and now we're a
Okay.
lot better, but we'll get to that. But
Yeah,
but yeah.
because so I want to back up a little bit because I mean, as you were
Mhm.
talking, I fully understand why you chose to be a transitional coach because you never were allowed transition, right? Like you just were like boom, boom, boom,
Boom,
boom,
boom, boom,
boom,
boom.
boom, right? And so you know how hard it is on your mentals to go from one extreme to the other.
Hmm.
And so you know exactly what you needed or what somebody would need in transitioning. That is beautiful. Like
Thank
God,
you.
you're everything in your life to me now that I'm like having to do these interviews is literally training ground for your future. You may not see it when it's
Wow.
happening, but it's literally a training ground,
Wow.
right?
Ah,
Like as
chills.
you were talking, it was giving me chills. Sorry, but I was like, did she not see that God was literally training
Training me.
you?
Because even nursing, I got into nursing school. I was acing nursing school. And then the pandemic hit. February 2020, people start getting sick. Um, and then on
Yep.
my birthday, I'm in nursing school, about to go into like trying to get ready for clinicals and things like that. And I was in a accelerated program, so they asked for a essay for full admission. And
Hmm.
my essay, my grandmother read it. I love her so much. She read it and she was like, "Are you sure?" She knew I would be an amazing nurse, right? Just
Hmm.
because of my compassion and I just
Right.
love people. And then academically, I just love learning. So, but she read my admissions letter, Jamie, and she was like, "Are you sure you don't want to be a therapist?"
Oh
And she was like, I would
wow.
never, she said, I would never tell you not to do what you want to do because this is absolutely amazing. I think that they are going to take you. But are you sure that you don't want to help people's minds? And I was like, I would be a nurse. I was like,
Was
we
you?
have a 1 year old. Well, he's not even one yet, but like, we have a mare. He's going to be one at the time. Didn't know COVID's coming and I'm pregnant with our second child. So COVID hits, they shut down school, especially nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
Shut down school. Nobody can go to their clinicals. Nobody can go to lab. And then my birthday is my first appointment for our second child. And so I have to rethink things. And then I'm like, well, maybe I do want to help people's minds, but like I don't really want to go get my master's right now. What
Right.
else can I do? I want to help people right now. And I was like, what else can I do that I can it's a skill. Like I want to be
Mhm.
skilled. I want to learn something. I want a credential for it. I want it to be a career, but I will still be able to pour into others' minds and support them. And that's how I came across coaching. Um,
Wow.
that's how, so in the midst of that mess, it was like my grandma planted the seed. Then I found out, COVID comes, birthday, I'm pregnant, sonogram. And then I'm like, okay, now I have two children. I want to be at home with my kids. I grew up with nurses. They were
Mhm.
tired. They were exhausted. They love me, but they were exhausted on those 13-hour shifts. Thank God
Yep.
for nurses, but I want to be at PTA meetings. I want to pick you up from school. I want to drop you off to
I wanna
school.
be that
So
mom.
I want
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
that mom. And I'm married, like I'm
Mhm.
married, and I believe my husband expects of me to be present. And I don't think with a brand new baby, that nursing for me and the picture I have for my family, even while my marriage, we were still learning how to even be married. We were struggling.
Right.
I knew I had faith that there's going to be a day where I'm not going to want to be at a 13-hour shift. And that's where I went online and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and I found a coaching program and I started that November of 2020.
Okay.
I believe it was November of 2020. Yeah, because by 2021 I was certified, I believe. Yeah. Wow, time flies. I'm out of it. But that same year, I dropped out of nursing school and I got my coaching. I started my coaching certification program, and that is how I am here today. Yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. Like COVID,
Yeah.
I feel like COVID was not
Fun. Tore
ideal
us up.
for everybody, but it did propel a lot of God's children into what He had created us for. I don't think that if COVID wouldn't have come, we would have even had started because
We wouldn't have
everybody's like,
paused.
yeah,
We wouldn't have paused. I truly believe God knew that we needed a halt. Like everybody was functioning on their own understanding. I can say very much for you. I have
mhm,
always known God. My grandmothers, both of them, have always had me in church. Um, I've known of God. I did
mhm,
not know, like, me and God have our own relationship.
situation.
There are my
Yeah,
own reasons why I lean on God.
yeah,
I can say very much before that, I was praying. I was praying to the Lord. I was, God, please, God, thank you, God. Yeah, God, He was
hmm
there. I knew He was why my motors were running. But
right.
when I needed to make decisions, when I applied for nursing school, when I was making all of these moves, I didn't sit and fast. I did not sit and I was also
Mm.
2021, but that's not an excuse. I'm still a child from the day I'm born. I didn't sit and I wasn't told to sit and wait for his guidance on what to do next. So I was just
Wow.
doing what I thought, doing what I thought was right. Okay, we're married. Okay, you're leaving the Navy. Okay, I'm gonna go teach. You didn't. My husband
Yeah.
didn't tell me go teach. God didn't tell me go. Well, eventually, it's making sense now. But like I was just, I was acting. Like I would just
Mhm, mhm.
act.
Yes.
And that's because with, like you said, all I did was boom, boom, boom. So that's how my mind started to work. Problem
Mhm.
comes, I'm jumping. We need a solution, I'm jumping. I am just on I'm jumping. I was not
Mm.
taking a pause. And I truly believe COVID, we had no choice but to sit in that house, face demons, face one, especially if you had a partner.
Listen.
You thought you knew that person.
You had to
You
be
thought you
with
did.
them all the I'm sorry. But it's true. You're like,
You
"Wait a
thought you
minute,
did.
you breathe like that?" Like,
That's how you
I
eat.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So there's something that you said is we didn't have like counsel or kind of training on on marriage, on what to do, and
Mhm.
we were separated a lot of the time. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What are some key things that you would like to discuss that even couples that are not in that we're always separated situation, but they still have these problems as far as like communication or even understanding one another, and just these transitions are going from being without child and it just
Mhm.
being fun to now you are responsible for another living being while still dealing with trauma, um, from
Yeah.
having this living being, because we don't touch on trauma and how much it actually really affects
Yeah, it
the
lives in
mental.
you.
So you
Um,
can start wherever you want in that, but just we want to go as deep as the Holy Spirit leads you.
got it.
Yeah.
So to paint a picture, and I'm trying, I'm learning not to be long-winded, which is okay, but I really am learning.
It's a,
But I would say my husband and I really grew up together. So you're talking about I had just turned 19 when I met him, and he
hmm
was 19 and he was going to be 20 in a few months when I met him.
right.
While when we did meet, we had a really great connection. We were kids in college. Like
hmm
he had told me before, like, I know you're going to be my wife, but I'm also in college. And I'm like, please, yeah. Um,
So he
like
already knew.
he already knew. He already knew, but he also knew that he didn't have the tools. Like I was bringing out of him. He said when he met me for the first time, he had never seen somebody as like bright. He said like you were just like bright. Like I've never met somebody who just like could light up a room like that or would talk about their feelings. Like I've never talked about my feelings before. So we were literally bringing out of each other what we
The
didn't know how
best
to do.
versions.
Yeah, best
Yeah.
versions. Like I didn't know how to be quiet.
Mm,
And he knows what stillness is. Like he knows what it is to be quiet. So for couples that are getting together, and we were long distance at that point.
right.
So like we were in college doing college things, but we did very much love each other. But we both also came from two different backgrounds. Like my
hmm
family, while not perfect, like my parents are not married. Both of their households had married mom and dad. Um,
hmm
a culture to stand upon. Both of my grandmothers were going to church. We had family barbecues. We did things. I grew up
Yeah.
going to Disney World. I grew up, I had a good dance class. Him, on the other hand, there was no family communication. His dad was incarcerated.
Oh
He
wow.
I'm not going to speak his whole situation, but like he's seen abuse growing up.
hmm
Um, his mom is absolutely amazing, but she had to hold her own completely. So he knows a woman that's like everything. I got this. Like I don't need nobody. We're gonna figure it out. He knows
Even
about
if she didn't
women.
have it, she had
Even
it.
if she
Like,
didn't have it, she had it. But he has
mm.
never left the country. I was in London at 5. So
Oh
this is like
wow.
two different people. And then also
Mhm.
individually from our family constructs, but also individually, I am like, let's talk about our feelings. I'm gonna cry because that's how I feel. I love you. I want to talk to you. And he's like, I don't feel like talking. I don't have to talk. I really don't want to do what anybody wants to tell me to do. I'm gonna do what I feel like I need to do. And distance is what felt right to him, right? So
Mhm.
we learned that by it clashing. We didn't help. We didn't have a therapist immediately to explain this to us. This is what I've learned over time. No, we had to go through. Fast forward, he goes into the Navy. He goes to boot camp. He gets stuck at boot camp for 12 weeks. He comes out of boot camp, and
Mhm.
honey, I'm excited. I fly to Chicago with our 7-month-old to see his Navy graduation, and his mom is there. Amir is there, and he sees me for the first time, and I'm in my head. I'm thinking, big hug. Oh, I missed you so much. He is numb. He is numb. Okay, he is. Hey,
You're like,
and
wait.
my heart,
Oh my God.
because in his letters, when we're writing letters to each other, it's complete. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, he's having so much insight. He even wrote me one week and was like, I went to church this Sunday because he didn't grow up going to church every Sunday. And once he get, like once you get to a
Wow.
certain age and nobody's making you go, like
You
he's
ain't
like,
gonna
I went to
go.
church. Yeah, he went to church one Sunday. Um, I love you. I miss you. Because before he left, things were a little rocky because we have a new baby. We're both
Mhm.
new out of college. So we're going tit for tat. I have postpartum depression. He's depressed because his career that he's been working on since a child, he was great. He is football, amazing. And that's
Right.
all he's worked on since he was a child. Kind of like with my dancing. That's all he's worked
So,
on since he was a child, was snatched from him
wow.
right at the time he was supposed to graduate. So he's depressed. But
Mhm.
through the Navy, while he was in boot camp, I think he was like, "No, I love my family. I love my wife. I want to do
Mhm.
this." But when I saw him after that, I was like, "Uh oh!" Like immediately, my heart just felt like. he's like even colder than,
Rejected or
yeah, it was like
mm-hmm.
rejection. It was like, was what you wrote me real? Do you only know how to like write your feelings? Um, because
Mm.
he never, so he was probably really having those
Wow.
feelings, but you don't have to show them. You're
Yeah,
writing
it's not
letters,
manly to show them, right? If I
or
show
like
them,
it's,
then it's weak.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I'm gonna give that person too much
it's too much,
power over me.
right? So
This
we
is
go through,
so.
yeah,
Go ahead. I'm just because when we're
yeah.
done,
I
I'm
could
gonna
pause
tell
if you
you.
want me to, but
No,
yeah.
no, no. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep. I know. I'll keep.
Um, yeah, so now we're like, and then also, guess what? Enemy still has us separated, like, because now you graduate, and now I'm thinking, okay, he's home. Great. No, he has a school. A school in Connecticut where it's like they have curfew. They have to bunk with a
Mm,
roommate. They cannot go a certain mileage away from the base. Um, there's times where he has to be off his phone. So like he only gets weekend visits. So now my son and I, like I can't come there yet. Like there's different
hmm.
stages. So like I can't come stay with my man for the weekend. Like no. So there's only weekend visits for a certain duration of time for one day. Either I can drive there and visit him and get into the base and go home, but that's like a 3-hour drive with this 8-month-old baby. Or he can come to New York for a certain amount of hours and drive back, which is much easier for himself. So we're seeing each other like once or twice a week. He's on this numb streak. Like because
Yeah.
of course, like boot camp is traumatic. Like I don't know what they did to you in there, right? So you're like completely stripped of your personality because now you need to fit into this militant lifestyle. And we were already dealing with you being quiet, right? So now you're even more at a distance, less communication. We're what, 22, 23 now, child. And I'm like, what is this?
Wow.
Like,
Like, what
what
am
is
I
this?
doing? What are
What
we
am I
doing?
doing? What are we doing? Um, and we
Mm.
argued. We argued because for him it just felt like, look where I'm at. And this is where I hope some couples, for him, there's a picture, and I wish I had the picture, but it's like a man hanging off a cliff, but there's a rock on his back,
Yeah, yeah,
like a
yeah. I
rock
think I've
crushing
seen it.
him. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's a woman holding onto his hand, and there's a snake peeking out, biting at her hand. She
Yes.
can't see the rock. He can't see the snake. So you're just like, so she's thinking, why can't you pick me up? You're a man, you're strong. Like, why can't you just pull me up here? I'm hanging, I'm gonna fall. And he's like, you don't see the rock that's on my, like, crushing my
Oh my
spine while I'm
back.
still holding you. And that was me and my husband's situation because neither of us knew how to communicate. I'm on my end, it was, I am a 22-year-old honors grad who has
Yeah.
no degree right now. I'm married. I got married in a 5-day span without a wedding, without all my friends. You
Wow.
left, and now you come back, and I'm thinking it's going to be great because we're having such the best communication we've ever had through our letters and pictures.
Three
And you
letters, yeah.
come back and you're not that at all. And then when I try to express myself to you that I have postpartum and I need your support, I just need to simply talk to you. I'm not asking for the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're yelling at me. You're hanging up on me. You're saying you need space. And for him, it's, I am a 22-year-old man with no father. I was supposed to be on somebody's
Mm.
football field.
Mm.
I graduated 3 days
Mm.
after my son's baby shower, and then my son came 3 days after that, and you almost died. And then I had no choice
Right.
but to jump into the military. Like I had no choice but to go into the military in the Navy for
Right.
submarines. Like not even just Navy on the boat, no, Navy subs, like under the ocean. And now I'm dealing with,
Oh, so
this
his
is
boot
not
camp
my
was
life.
extensive. Like,
Yeah,
right. His boot
like
camp was
this.
extensive because it's like all that water. It's almost like marine boot camp, but not
Mhm.
as marine. Yeah. So
So
he
it's
kind
like
of
you don't know
they
what
really did
you
break
don't.
him down.
Yeah, like you don't know what they did to me there, and then this was not my life. Like this was not supposed. I love you. I was supposed to marry you. He wanted the child. So I remember him speaking
Yeah.
it when we were dating. He was like, I want to have a child right after. I want to have a child in my early 20s, right after I graduate. Like I want. I'm not mad at that. So he wasn't mad about Amir. Amir never interfered with his vision, but
Right.
the whole career thing tore him up. But he didn't know how to voice that to me. So we're like both suffering with our own, one, individually just growing up, and then two, feeling like you don't get me. And then there's not a married couple to call, there's not parents to call and say, hey, like,
Hey. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So you're at this like my brother, and here's the thing. I think and I hate to say this because I feel like I say this and then I don't know what happens when when if his wife listens to it. So please, I want everybody to have a disclaimer. My brother's marriage is fantastic. They've actually been married for
a lot
maybe
of years.
20 plus. Like
Wow.
they're I think they're in the 30-year range. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
That's
But
beautiful.
it is beautiful. My brother is military as well. And he told me about this part in their marriage where the communication sound just like that. Like there was nothing that was getting through to either one
Nothing.
of them. And he called it the power struggle moment.
That's what it
And
was.
the ability to be vulnerable, because see, in my mom's house, you know, nobody talked about feelings and emotions. We like my mom, and I love her, but saying I love you on a consistent basis, we just knew mom loved us because she took care of us. Does that
That was
make
his
sense?
household.
Okay. And so to express that to somebody, aside from me just doing what I know should let you know that
You never seen it. And to me that sounded so, to me, when he would tell me that, in my young mind, who doesn't have a woman to tell me how to be a wife, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you don't want to apply the effort. Because how
yeah,
can you like not know how to love? How could, like, you love me so much? I read it. You married me. I have the child. I have this. I have that. How could you, like? Why is a hug a problem? Like, why is the consistent hug, or calling me or texting me these words? Why is that such a hard thing for you? And my mind could not see it.
comprehend.
Like, it couldn't come, because I grew up around. I love you. I kept with my grand. I love you. I love you. Oh, let's do this. Like, But
Yeah.
I really couldn't get it. I saw it as like a lack of effort for a long time,
Wow.
and stubbornness. That's what I
And
saw it as.
yeah, and I don't think people, it's so interesting how uncomfortable it is to step out of that well, I'm doing for you, that should be enough, and
Mhm.
actually embracing like, okay, you want hugs, you
Mhm.
want your head rubbed, oh, you want, and you're like, that
Why? Like, yeah. Why? Like, what? We're adults. Like, he's literally looking at me like, I'm not your dad. I
mm,
told that I like we were so like unaware of what our roles were, that when I told him I was, and this is not to embarrass my husband at all, like, my husband has grown so much, and I'm so happy that God has kept our union and that we did not allow the
yes,
enemy
I
to
am
destroy
too.
it. But there
Amen.
truly was a point where I told that man, I have postpartum depression. I'm depressed. I am scared. I nearly lost my life. I'm still sick. I had a C-section. I didn't want any of this. And he's like, you have to
Yeah.
take care of yourself. Literally looked at me, you have to take care of yourself. I can't help you.
And you're
I can't help
like,
you.
but then you didn't even take into account, which when you're in it, you don't, that his mom did everything by herself, right? And so he was saying, well, if my mama could do it, then you can, and that's
I've heard that. And I was like, I'm not your mom, and I am also not living that life.
yeah. I don't want that
Yeah,
life,
I
right?
don't want it. I commend, like, amazing, amazing. Like, I have so
Right.
much respect for my mother-in-law. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know how, because even with the husband, and when we've seen hardship, because we've seen it, like, we've
Hmm.
not known how the rent was going to get paid. He has left the Navy, and I, 4 weeks postpartum, had to go into New York City, COVID,
Wow.
and teach pre-K
Right.
with masks on, and I'm still bleeding from my C-section. You know what I'm saying? He didn't
Listen,
tell
I
me to
don't
do
get
that.
it. Yeah. Oh, you're muted. You muted yourself.
Oh,
You're back.
I'm back. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, friends. This is getting
It's
there.
okay.
But
No, this.
um but no, like I have we've been there. Like we've been in hardship because the enemy was attacking my marriage. I promise you the enemy. Like if we really go, I am open to share depending on how the questions, like if it comes out, it comes out. But like we've been in dark spaces and I'm
Mhm.
like, I know what it is to like I know how hard it is with the husband in the house. So I can't imagine like waking up every morning and all you have to fall on is yourself. So that's why I speak so
Yeah.
highly of women that are single and doing this on their own. But I'm sure if they even also had a choice to pick one, they would not.
No,
Some of them would, but
we don't want to do it by
I
ourselves.
don't want to do it. So he's looking at me like I'm weak. For a time, I thought for so long that my husband did not know my strength. For so long, that was my what I was screaming in the arguments. Like, you don't know what woman you have. Just because
Yeah.
I'm not wanting to carry it all on my own and wanting you to do what I think you should do. But he couldn't because that man was in the dark. That man was in darkness. He was depressed. I was depressed. And I noticed when God revealed to me when we had to separate again for some time, because coexisting it was so bad we could not live in the same house. So when he separated us and I was able to see clearly,
Yes.
um, I noticed, oh my gosh, even I could see me sitting on the bed. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Amir just went to sleep. He's laying on the bed. We're like, it's like I couldn't even feel a connection between us anymore. Like I just felt so upset and sad. And I thought, like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you because you're my best friend, right? You're my husband, right? And when he looked at me and he told me, I can't help you. You have to help yourself. I didn't realize it's because, like, he couldn't even help himself.
Right.
And he
Oh,
was like, he literally meant, like, I cannot help you. He didn't say I don't want to help you.
but I
And that's where
can't.
these are the couples that's struggling with communication. Like listen to what they're saying verbatim. Sometimes it has to get that literal. Like he literally sometimes means like I cannot. Not just like I don't want to. I was taking it as you don't want to, and that's not what he said. He was like I cannot help you. And he
You
meant
know,
that.
remember when I told you that I do these and every time I've done one, I get a level of deliverance that I didn't know
Mhm.
was needed. And so just know in that brief moment right there, what you said, I've had somebody say that to me. And I
Mhm.
took it as the way that you did. Like, what do you don't want to
You're
help
leaving me
me?
out for dry.
And I forgot that that person was in a dark place too,
He was
right?
drowning.
He was drowning. He was drowning. And now I can now look at it in a different lens and be like, I was expecting something that they couldn't even do for their own
Yeah.
self.
Yeah.
That this is, but it also makes me feel that the enemy attacks these marriages or the potential of that marriage in the same way,
Mhm.
right? Like definitely mess up communication so that they do not hear or understand. Definite play on the way that they've been raised so that there's a division, right?
Yeah.
He's really
He listens. He listens. So like the devil is not like God where
right,
he's not omnipresent. So he can't
right.
hear your thoughts and things like that. But trust and believe that he has a full record of your life, your wrongdoings, your weaknesses. Like so the moment that and I've heard this, I can't remember where I heard it, but like I kept it with me. It's like the moment there is the slightest space for the enemy to slip in,
Mhm.
oh, he's
Mhm.
right through. And with my husband and I, there were so many holes. There were
Yeah.
so many. There was the holes of I wasn't mothered. So like now I'm a mother and I'm hyper critical of myself because I don't want
Mhm.
a Mare or Aiden. There was no Aiden at the time, but like
Right.
in this season that I'm talking about with you, I was so hypercritical of myself and my emotions and what I was feeling towards my son because I did not want him to I didn't want to be my mom in certain situations. Um
Mhm.
then there was of course like a void, and that comes from just me. I can only speak for myself, so I also had voids of needing reassurance because
Yeah.
my parents when I was growing up, they had so much tension. They had but there was like no reinforcement of or reassurance of like, Mia, I love you,
Mm-hmm.
or you're doing a
Mm-hmm.
great job. My mom, I know she always wanted the best for me. I'm not gonna say that she didn't, but she was very like, I remember being about 4 years old and I'm coloring an apple at her cheerleading practice because she had me young at her cheerleading practice, and she was yelling at me because I was coloring out the lines, and I was in pre-K. I'm just learning how to color. So I grew up like
Mm-hmm.
everything
Had to
is
be
to
perfect.
the T. If it's not, and you don't tell me that it is, I feel like it's not. So now I have a husband, and
Who's
now he
not
doesn't know how
telling
to
you?
communicate, and he's not telling me, and he's hurting. And so I think it's my fault because
Mm,
my mom would be like, "Oh, you don't," you know. And then before I left for college, my dad had a moment with me that hurt me a lot. So I went into college. I wasn't even talking to my dad. He said some things to me that were very hurtful, but it had all to do with my mother. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm just like codependent on my husband to make
yeah.
me feel whole, make me feel full, make me feel like I'm mothering well enough, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
wifing well enough, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
being his friend well enough. And then if he doesn't talk to me or want to be open with me, I feel like I've done him wrong, or if he doesn't trust me. And
Yeah.
all of this has nothing to do with him.
The enemy, oh my gosh, because that's deep. That
That's
like
deep.
the way that that was set up was for you to
It was a
fail.
setup. It was a setup. But God says what the devil has set for your to hurt you, to harm you, I'm going to use for your good. What
Okay.
he set to harm you, I'm going to use for your good.
So without having counsel and having people that you could call, how did God work the situation out?
Mm.
How did yeah, no, this is serious because this
Where'd
is
it
so
go?
good.
This is like,
Yeah, because a lot of times, and I'll say this, when it comes to because you could pick your spouse and God could pick your spouse. And what it sounds to me is that God picked your spouse. When he does the picking, Satan is like, no.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that's going to be a fairy tale, but if this is a kingdom marriage, which is going to oppose the kingdom of darkness, which runs this world, there's going to be a fight.
Woo,
And what
touch it.
usually happens, see, I'm about to start preaching, right? And so what usually happens is that the people around you do not help to keep this connection going. And so it's hard for you to find anybody that even willing,
Mm-hmm.
that can't be used by the enemy to continue to speak life into your marriage.
Yeah.
And so what did God do? What did he do? Because
So,
this is inspiring me. Like, I don't know if you could
yeah.
tell, but this is exciting me. I'm sorry.
So literally, I would say from 2021 all the way till March of last year,
Mm-hmm.
we went through the mud. Like, it was like how God told the devil, do what you want with Job, just don't kill him. That's what it was with our marriage, okay? And the Holy Spirit, I feel okay to share this.
Mm-hmm.
Abuse came into my marriage. That's how ugly it got, okay? So when we were going through the whole, you're not talking to me, blah, 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 he was in Connecticut at his base. We even lived in Connecticut very shortly. I was pregnant with Aiden.
Okay.
It was to the even the point of with our second son, my husband had said like, we weren't I didn't want this to happen. Like we didn't plan to be pregnant. Now imagine being married and you're having another baby and you're
Mm-hmm.
23 years old and your husband's like, basically, I didn't want this baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the right time, right? Um
Right.
Shattered, right? So I spent a lot of my pregnancy, because it was COVID as well. I did catch COVID,
Right.
Lord knows how, while I was pregnant with Aiden. I spent it at my grandma's house in New York. So again, apart, right?
Yeah.
Then we move to so my husband's name is Tuffy. He decides to withdraw from the Navy because it
Okay.
was gonna pull from how I felt. I wanted to be involved with the family. His role in the Navy, we were not going to see that man. They were going to deploy him right when I was supposed to deliver. So he takes a very risky option to leave the Navy. He left, and now that left Tamiah in the ballpark. So the enemy tried, when he left, the enemy took all of our insurance. They did not give my husband his benefits. I am a high risk pregnancy, and I'm due in about 2 to 3 weeks when they discharge my husband. They like literally, like, if you could imagine a boot just kicking him to the street, right? So now we had just moved into a new place in New Jersey. Um, so now it's no one has a job, second
Yeah.
baby coming, one baby already here.
We really not
So
talking. We're
we're
already.
really not talking. We're really not talking. So I'm like, hey, and I'm noticing that I am being emotionally and verbally abused. So you know
Mm,
what? I started to think, did I choose my husband and God didn't choose my husband?
yeah.
Right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
So I remember going on Google, and it's really crazy when you have a profession. Like, you know how doctors are not good patients,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
because they know everything. Yeah. Same with psychologists. So I know what abuse is. But because I was going through emotional and verbal abuse and didn't want to believe it, I'm on Google like, what are the signs of emotional and verbal abuse? And it's like, girl,
I'm not only laughing because I did the same thing.
it's like sis, no. Don't try to find a different definition so that you don't have to be going through it. No, and I remember showing him because, and it's like, wow, I was so like, I just wanted to save my marriage, because it's like some people would be like, you're showing him, he's doing it, like, but I really showed him. I was like, I don't, because I didn't know if he knew,
Hmm.
because he's repeating. He was raised around raised voices and hands being thrown and punching in the walls.
And
So
I was
this is his breeding ground. He never wanted that for me. But if
right.
he's depressed and the enemy has him in a depressed way, and this can be a default,
This is
he's
his
gonna
norm.
default to that. This is his norm. He's not gonna default to baby, let's talk.
This is
Baby, give
so
me space.
crazy. This is
So
so
I'm
crazy.
showing him, and I'm like, do you see that, like, all of this happens? And he's like, yes. So he was very opposed to couples therapy, but somehow we got in couples therapy. It was making a slight of progress, and then it
Mhm.
stopped. Um we moved into New Jersey. I had Aiden. Another treacherous delivery. I was healthy up until I wasn't. So another
Right.
C-section, but Aiden was okay. Before having Aiden, though, the Lord allowed us to reconcile in some way, because I was ready to not have him in the room.
Amen.
Week
Like, oh, I don't
before,
even.
I was ready
Yo.
to not have him in the room, because I knew I wanted to try to have Aiden naturally, and I felt like he could not support me emotionally.
Yeah, you're like, there's no use on you being here.
And I knew I would
So.
start to hurt, thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna get upset
Mm,
that you're not being what I envision a husband being in a delivery room. So he was almost not in the delivery room.
oh my God.
Like,
Okay. This
look at the devil. Like, almost made him miss his child's. Like, I was considering him missing his son's birth off the sake of, like, he
your
wasn't
own.
my own judgments. But that didn't happen, thankfully. And then to fast forward, we are living in New Jersey. Aiden's born for about 3-4 months, and then he starts like throwing things. Arguments are getting very hostile, like just verbally yelling. Like, yeah, I felt bad for our neighbors. I'm crying. I'm like crying, puffs under my eyes, to the extent where one day I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, I can't stay here. And I didn't want to ever. And I that's where I learned, like, personally, my dad didn't do anything to overstep.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Thankfully,
yeah.
I didn't have any family overstep. Like, they did what they would have. But I personally, with some things, wish I had kept in my marriage. But I think God needed me to know I could reach out, because after having my first son, that's when my dad and I got close. My daddy's more like, we're really close now.
Right.
He was like, okay, come stay with me. And I think God made me call my dad, because I needed to see that I'm cared for outside of Tuffy. Like, I
Yeah.
needed to see, like,
Yeah.
somebody will take care of you, and there's
Yeah.
a man that will take care of you, that I've set to care for you. So
Mm.
they have not gotten to see that when you were younger, but you can rely on the father I've chosen for you.
Oh,
So
that is so
even that,
deep. Okay,
it
go ahead.
is, sorry. I lived with my dad for some time, and then my dad is still Brooklyn, Trinidadian man. He was
Mhm.
like, he called Tuffy. He said, "You want to take a trip to Texas? Do you need to go see your family? Do you need to, like, are you, I know you left the
That's
Navy.
so sweet.
Do you need to go home?" Now, I know part of this was like, because I don't want to have to hurt you, because this is getting a little, it's getting a little bit too much. But I also know my dad probably was like, this man's probably spiraling. He can't support his family right now. He has his wife is working 4 weeks postpartum, because I literally had to go. I started teaching in New York City as a substitute, but I became like a full classroom teacher. So I wasn't even home with my kids. And guess what? Now my husband is home playing mom. because
And then now
I'm
he
going to
feels
work.
even less
So now he
than.
feels even less than. So now he's even angrier. So my dad's like, listen, I'll take Tamiah, the boys. You could go home. He agrees to that. So this is the first step, where I think God started to like play a part, because you're asking like how did God do it? I have to
Yeah.
tell. I'm sorry, y'all. I have to tell all the details for you to really see God's
No,
God's
we need
work.
the details.
Um,
We need them, because if you skip it, then people are going to be.
how did
And,
that happen?
yeah, but we also don't want to give you the details so that you can try and compare and contrast, because your story is going to be different. I want to make sure they know that.
Yeah.
But this is how God worked in yours. This is beautiful. Go ahead, honey, because
Thank you.
I am engaged.
So, my dad, has a conversation with Tuffy, and Tuffy's like, okay, like, I'll go. I remember this is now May of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did May of 2021. I lied. May of 2021. And I'm going on a trip with some friends in Florida, so I'm gonna get time to digress and
Mm-hmm.
decompress and things like that. Um, he goes to Texas, and I remember him asking me to come back, like after I get back from my trip and everything. And I remember him
Come
asking me, like,
home.
"Can I come home?" And I said no. I said no. I said I still need time. Um, because I was afraid. Me in that time, I was afraid that he was, because we were actually able to get along at the distance, because that's what we were used to. The enemy liked us apart. So if they're apart, you cannot be a thriving marriage. Like,
Ooh, say
so
it.
the
Mm-hmm.
enemy liked us apart. So things were smooth sailing. I remember being in Florida. He complimented that, oh, you look so pretty. Like, you look like you're at peace. You look,
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted our marriage to work. Although you would think we did not like each other. We loved each other, but there were evil entities against us. I'm promising you that is a real thing.
Like
So,
I know, I feel like your story is different from but it's so similar,
the
because
principles of it.
yes, like literally, if anytime the person gets remotely where they can even think that they want to come close to me, all hell
Hell broke loose.
literally breaks loose. It
It
is
was
so
crazy.
weird.
It's like
Like,
as soon as something is going well, it was like we would, when I say fall flat on our face, I mean hard. So like we were going well when he joined the Navy after boot camp a little bit. We got into the therapy. We're on a stable income. We're living by the base. I'm a military wife. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Boom, I'm still pregnant. Now you never wanted me to have the kid. I'm throwing my ring at him. I'm going nuts. Like when I say insane, and I have never been an angry person. A lot of people that know me will say they've never seen me angry. Only he has. Because he's seen the
turn up.
ugliest of me. Um, like I didn't want him to come back either when he asked to come back when we were living in New Jersey, because Amir was now seeing the arguments. He was
Yeah,
now
yeah.
sharing the anger, and I saw it in Amir's behavior. Like he would just
Hmm.
have, like, when we're arguing, I remember arguing, and like I'm arguing, like my spirit wants to fight, like whatever negative evil spirit was within me, they want to fight. But I remember my heart aching because I hear my baby crying, like literally crying, because like what is happening? You guys
Yeah.
are
Why is this
screaming.
happening?
I packed up. I remember one day I packed his stuff up. I threw it down the steps. So I'm like, I don't want you to come back, because I'm scared that that's going to happen. So we actually spend from May of 2021 all the way to December of 2021 not residing in the same place. He's in
Okay.
Texas. I'm in New Jersey. Throughout the summer of 2021, I took small trips to Dallas so that
Hmm.
he could see his sons, and I tried to stay with him. I tried to stay with, he was at his mom's. I tried to stay with him, but again, those two evil spirits could not coexist. So we would
Hmm.
argue, and it would
Hmm.
get to the point where his mom was crying because his mom had not seen her son in a household since before college. Remember, after college, he's with me.
Wow.
So she's like
Right.
now feeling like, did I fail? Because she's a
Yeah.
lovely woman, like she has her
Yeah.
own life that she's experienced. And that's why I
Mm,
didn't want to come back, because I'm looking at Amir. I don't want that to happen to Amir's wife because of whatever he saw
right.
with his parent, generational curses. But I
Yeah.
watched his mom literally hurt and feel like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm really sorry. I don't know. Like, she told him, like, you're going to lose your family. I heard my husband tell me summer of 2021, all I care about is them boys.
But he didn't mean
Okay.
that.
He didn't mean it clearly, but
Right. Because you know it's the
but
enemy
I want
talking through
everyone to
him.
understand. I want everyone to understand, like, the lengths that the enemy will attack. And if you are not praying, and if you are not like, so anybody could have already been filing for divorce, because you've already said you didn't want a baby with me. You've already said, I've said things. I've said like, you're failing us. You're evil. You don't listen to
You
me. Like,
Satan's
I'm not
kids. I didn't, like you call it.
like, like, I have your kids. You're not listening. You're not doing nothing. Like, I've targeted, oh, you on that video game. Like, I remember very hurtful things that both of us have said to each other that a lot of people in this day and age would have rushed to divorce. But
Right.
December, and you think that's the hardest part. I eventually have to think about, okay, am I going to stay in New Jersey where I'm close? Comfort zone, the enemy. Comfort zone. My family's here. They're 20 minutes away. There's no arguing. I feel like I'm at a peace of mind. But I decided to move to Texas to be with my husband. Um,
Right.
I come here, things are going well. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, February comes of 2022, and he goes spiral. I go spiral, and this is where like it just wasn't safe. Like, it through the whole of February to about September of 2022, the police have come to our door in our apartment complex. Parts of our fridge were broken. We left that apartment. There were holes in the doors of our bedroom.
I just want to say that you make me feel a lot better because no, because like and there was times where you could, I don't know if this has happened to you when you're arguing, where you want to stop yourself. Like literally,
I
you're
wanted to stop. I felt like I had no control. Like, I felt like I had
yeah,
zero control over my mind, I felt like I was going crazy. Like, I was
okay.
crying like no other. I did not feel safe. I remember one day he tried to come talk to me, and I screamed and ran across the bed, and he was like, and I was like, he came to me, he's like, "Why are you running? Like, why are you not like trying to, antagonize me?" But he was like, "Why
Yeah,
are
but
you
like what
running
is
from
going
me?"
on?
Like, when I say scream, like, you would have thought like he was charging at me. Like, I screamed, and I was like, ah, and I ran across the bed because I was just on edge. I was waking up, panic attacks. All that's why I knew it wasn't us. It was not us. I was in
No,
spiritual warfare. And he was like, "What's
for
wrong?" And I was like,
real.
"I don't trust you." I was like, "I don't trust you. I don't feel safe with you. I don't trust you." So this is now September of 2022. And there was
Okay.
one last really bad argument. That's when, like, there was a hole in the wall. I called his mom. I had to call his mom about 3 times that year to come and collect her son,
Come
because
get
I
your
was
child.
like, and his sister happened to be there too, his younger sister. Um, and she was like, "Oh no!" Like, this is where like the family's like, "Oh no!" Like, we don't know what Tamiah. Like, his brothers were like, "Don't go back in there." Um, like, it was that level. But he's like having these outbursts, but he's also within, like, it's like increments, y'all, of like 10
Mhm.
minutes is anger. "Get away from me. Stop talking to me. Close the door in my face." He would lock doors, lock the house door so that I don't come in, because I would just want to talk. And I've learned through a book. It's called Love and Marriage and Respect. I'll send it to you. But like, when a man says he needs space, give him space. um,
Yeah,
but I
I've learned
wasn't
that the
able
hard
to.
way. So I'll
Yeah,
say, I
give him space. But it got to one day where I was just like, okay, I need y'all to see this, and I need people to be around because he is bugging out. But it would be like 10 minutes of anger. And then I would leave the house like he told me to, because I'm also
Mhm.
stepping away. I'd be in my car, and he's like, "Can you please come back upstairs and talk to me? I just need you to talk to me." Like I could see the you see like something
Yeah,
morphing, like the battle. And that's when I think I was like, whoa, this is not just two people like not meant to be together. This is a war. Like, this is a war. And I think that's when, for me, I was still like at that part where he started just crossing lines for me, where I was like, I'm drained, I'm emptied. The enemy almost won. I decided to transfer our apartment, get a 1 bedroom for me and my sons,
oh
and his name
wow.
was not on the lease, and we were going to separate and just figure it out from there. We weren't going to divorce, but we were going to separate. And decide like, no, we really have to work on ourselves before we
Yeah.
can do this. Um, and we were in Walmart, so this is the glory, right? We were in
Mhm.
Walmart one day. Just we didn't I moved into the 1 bedroom, yes. Um he was at his mom's here and there. Like, it was even to the point where I'm at work, I dropped the kids off at his mom's place. He picks them up. Like, we were literally like co-parenting.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
2022. And so, and I that was so hard for me because I remember one day he was treating me like really like a co-parent. Like, it was very
You
much
didn't
like,
like that. Like, wait a minute,
it's
I
like,
am your whole
I
life,
was
sir.
like,
Like, this
you
is
can't
not what
even
we're gonna
smile
do.
at me, you
I
know.
know that I left, but still, like,
Like,
this is
still,
not
come on.
that.
Right, no, it felt like that, and I didn't really like it, but I was trying to acclimate to it because I was like, no, Tamia, like, if you are choosing yourself, it became that. If you are choosing yourself and you are choosing the best environment for these boys, because it wasn't at the time, then, like,
Right.
you have to get used to this. And he had told me, like, I cannot, like, co-parent with you and be your friend. Like, I could never be your friend, you know. And I was
Oh
like,
my
what?
God.
But yeah, one day we go co-parenting to Walmart to get groceries and for the boys, and we run into a couple, and they start a conversation with us. Like, he asked
Mm.
what the football team was on Tuffy's shirt, and it was his college football team. And they're like, we'd love to hang out with you guys, like, because we ended up talking in the aisle. Where are you from? What do you guys do? Blah, blah, blah. No, we'd love to have coffee with you guys. Fast forward, this couple ended up introducing us to another couple who is a black couple. They're married. That couple was married, and they were about a year, 2 years older than us. So they were in the same age group. So, example
Okay.
of marriage. Then they
Mm-hmm.
connected us to another couple that was in like their 30s or 40s that had been married. Very similar stories to ours. This couple invited us to their home. We were both like, we really don't, do they know we're about to like separate? Like, we're talking to each other. I remember sitting one day, we went to eat, and we're like, we're meeting with these couples and they're talking to us and they're pouring into us, but we have not told them that we do not plan
Look
to,
at
we're not even
God
living together.
intervening on your behalf.
Yes, like, we're not
With,
even living together. And so we met that
you just let
couple.
me chills again because the Holy Spirit is absolutely no joke. Like, God really does love us. Like, even when we,
So
I'm
much.
sorry, it just, wow. Okay. All right. Go ahead. This is so
So,
good.
and
Like,
yeah, I'm getting to the good part. So from October to about March, God was like, if God had on those goggles and was at work, he was at work, because that first night we went to that older couple's house, my husband had a breakthrough. He cried, he bawled, because
oh,
you
deliverance.
could see us like trying to like sit there, and we like, he was like,
Mm,
honestly, he told the older guy, because now he's looking at somebody that looks like him, sounds like him, a
yes.
black man that is a real, like, really committed to his wife. Like, he's seeing for the first time
Yes.
that this
Mm,
exists. It's no more just Tamia talking, yep, 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 this exists, this exists. Because he used to say I wanted a Prince Charming. He even told me one time that I should go get a white man. Okay? Because his head was like, no, we don't do this, right?
yeah.
And that's why I'm
Men
so
don't love on
glad
their
that
wives
you
like
guys,
that. Then
I'm so glad
you're
that you guys
asking for
have
too
an
much.
example. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's just, he saw it, and eventually it was like, so how are you guys? Like, how are you? You know, because of course, how are you guys? You know, what are you guys working on? What are your goals? And he just had a breakthrough of like, I have not treated her right. I hate what I've done to her. I hate how I've acted to her. I love her. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I ain't never heard, I didn't know,
Oh, he does
you
love
know,
me.
I'm like, I ain't
Really.
never heard this. I thought you justified that I was, so I'm listening, and I'm like, wow. And I think that's the first time that I heard my husband speak on me and his love for me that wasn't just like an apology, or like
But
after we had this
it was what you needed. It's what
that's what I
actually
needed. So
my eyes
from
are watering
there,
just a little bit for you. Like, that was that right there.
yeah. So then, as soon as that conversation, we had a great conversation. My husband cried. The man told my husband, he was like, "Hey, listen, you're forgiven. Like, God forgives." I remember him looking my husband in the eye, and I'm witnessing. It's like, it's done. Like, it's done. You're forgiven. Like, let that go. Release that. It's not yours.
Yes.
Let it go. She's here. You're here. Like, this is what's real. And we got up and we were getting ready to leave their house. Mind you, they have only met us but twice before this. We were in
Hmm.
their house till 1 a.m, and they just spoke into us. And before we left, his name is Josh. He put his hand into his bookshelf. He pulled out a book, and it was the book of Jabez.
Okay.
And
Oh,
he gave it to my
really?
husband, and he was like, "Read that." And I remember that night, it was like Tuffy started to stay at the one bedroom with me, and
Mhm.
because they advised like stay together, like don't do that.
Yeah.
And I remember waking like every morning around 5 a.m. The closet light would be on. He's in the closet reading the book of Jabez,
He was
and
in the
then
closet. He
in the
created a
closet
prayer closet.
on the floor
What?
reading. I don't think he knew it
No
was a prayer
way.
closet. I don't think he knew that was what he was doing. I think because we're in a one bedroom, like I think he was just going for a place of quiet. But he was reading the book of Jabez, and then I remember the next couple days, I look at his phone and his screensaver was one of the prayers from the book
Yeah.
of Jabez, and I was like, I ain't never seen no prayers before. And I remember me on my end, I had met a lash tech that brought me to church. She brought me to
So
church, and I was at church and I was praying. And then we went on a men's and women's
you are just
conference.
talking about like you're really bypassing the power of prayer.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the power like we were both praying. Because while he's at that book of Jabez, I had a lash tech that met me for my birthday lash appointment, and she brought me to church. She found me a church in Dallas that was restoring me and helping me. So we're both separately. God was like, okay, I know you're probably Tuffy, you're probably not walking into a church right now, but I'm gonna give you a book to read because you're
Yeah.
quiet and you're private and you're personal, and I'm gonna give you that book. And you're gonna read that book, and that book's gonna speak to you. Tamia, I know you need community. I know you like people, you like to talk, you like all these things. So I'm gonna give you a church home. And then that way both of you are getting sound doctrine so that you can like, and then I'm going to give you these two random, we met those people in Walmart,
In
like
Walmart
buying juice, honest kids juice for the boys
on an
to then
accident,
pepper it on
really?
accident, on accident.
Supposedly, right?
And it's crazy. We got that same couple then invited us to a men's and women's leadership conference. And let's just say at that conference, that was about like being business owners, and it was a conference about information,
Mhm.
like learning, knowledge, nothing to do with Christianity,
Marriage.
nothing to do with um marriage. There were other married couples there, but you didn't even sleep with your spouse. Like all the men bunked together, all the
Oh.
women stayed together. So it wasn't even that. It was just like singles were there. Married.
Mhm.
Why one moment? Well, I was going to the gym. Part of taking care of myself. I was trying to distract myself, and I woke up. And
Mhm.
before I went to, after I got back from the gym, I was because I was going to the church. I wanted to read
Mhm.
my Bible.
Right.
God brought me to Matthew, where he talks about repentance and how we should
Yes.
repent.
Oh.
And so I studied that, and I already knew because I grew up in the Catholic Church. I grew up in church, like what repentance was. Okay, baptism. Okay, cool. I've been baptized as a baby. Great, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
highlight, but something in me wanted to like highlight and write notes, and I shared it on my story on Instagram, and I just really was connected to this word about repentance. 2 hours later, I'm getting ready for whatever meeting the ladies have in about 30 minutes, and I hear one of the girls go, "They're doing baptisms today at 12." And I'm like, "What you said?" I said, "What you said?" She goes, "They're doing baptisms today at 12 in the pool." I said, "Where? Like we're going to a church? Like where are you doing baptisms?" And she's like, "No, in the pool. Downstairs, they're gonna do baptisms in the hotel at 12 o'clock." And so I take a moment to myself and I write Tuffy. And I'm like, because I had already personally been wanting to get baptized again, but I was planning
Mhm.
to do that in April. This is like March 8th, March 9th. So I was planning to do
Okay.
it in April with my church that I was going to. So I was
Right.
writing them about when's your baptism? So I already was like, wow, that's crazy that baptisms comes up while I'm on this trip. But then my husband
And
goes, oh yeah.
repentance.
And he goes, yeah, Greg told me last night and I was gonna tell you, but I fell asleep. So God wanted me not to hear from my husband about repentance and the baptisms. He wanted for me to know for sure that it was from him. He was like, no, I'm going to bring you to the word. You're going to read about it for yourself. And then you're going to hear it at random. And then you're going to know that your husband wanted to tell you about it. Like, I don't want you to think it came from your husband. And there's no part of me. I feel like God said, there's no part of me that wants you to think this is coincidence. So I'm gonna
Right.
make you read about it, and then you're randomly gonna hear about it. Then you're gonna tell your husband, and you're gonna find out your husband knew about it. And guess what? My husband
Y'all
goes,
got
if you go in the
baptized.
water, I'll go with you. And we ended up
Woo!
baptized together on the same day. And on that day, he also experienced the deliverance at a conference in Kentucky
In
where we've
Jesus'
never been.
name.
And when I got home, this is the closing, y'all. When I got
Okay.
home, before, because I was going through so much and I was just trying to heal myself and let go of this weight and forgive, I was writing different scriptures on my mirror with a dry erase marker. And this
Yeah.
scripture, I don't want to get it wrong. I believe it's in Zechariah, and it has to do with like, if you repent, like, just this is my, I'm not word for word verbatim, but if you repent, I will restore you double. Right? I think it's Zechariah 9:9. I had wrote
Okay.
that on my mirror, just the verse, the scripture, and then the words I wrote were restore double. So when we get back from that conference at 5 a.m. and I look at my mirror and it says restore double, I nearly dropped to my knees
Because he
because
did.
he restored us. He didn't restore one of us, he
He
restored
just
both of us. And since then, we have not argued the same. We have not ever spoken on leaving each other. We have not slept a night in a separate house from one another. And
listen.
that was March of
What?
last year. So we're about to be
Look
a
at the
year in December. Yeah,
turnaround.
it was within 4 months. So 2 to 3 years of like mud, like dragging us through the mud, abuse, anything you name it. Well, not cheating. We didn't do cheating or anything, but
Well,
like
yeah, no,
abuse. Because I say anything you name it, you could think we went through everything that could possibly tear up a marriage. But like abuse, like
mhm,
all of that, just not supporting a pregnancy, anything that you think could break a woman, like words, harsh
yeah,
words, taking off our rings, like throwing it at each other, throwing objects at each other, damaging our homes. Like,
yeah,
I think it really turned for me when the police came to our door because somebody had called the police. And I remember writing a letter to my neighbors the next morning, like, I am so sorry
right.
to scare anyone like that. But I was like, no, this is real. Like, like, I had to sit here and like, this is your life. But
This is
within
really happening.
4 months, God was like, okay, y'all really, because he could tell, like, y'all were probably serious about separating this time. I'm
Mhm,
not letting that
mhm.
happen. I'm not letting that happen. And from then, I would say we've been on the up end of getting to know each other. We started reading different books, going to church, reading our Bibles. But we didn't have God in the center of our union. And without that, we could not
Wow.
communicate. We could not see each other. I couldn't respect him for his role. He could not respect me or hear me out. He's even a better father. He's always been a great dad, but he's so much
Mhm,
more intentional with them. Like, that's one thing. He had never failed those boys in the sense of showing up for them.
right.
So I always felt like left out. But I hope that that testimony just shows, like, as long as you're safe, because I never want a woman to, put her safety at risk. If you are
Mhm,
safe and that man decides, like, I am never going to put you in harm's way, then God does not want any union that is under his name, that are from two people that believe in him and believe that Jesus is their Lord and Savior, to perish. It's not what
right.
he said. He says what he puts together,
Let
no
no
one
man. Mm,
no one can
mm.
separate it, nothing can separate it. So that's how God really went in and was like, "Oh, y'all thought I let y'all handle this on your own enough. And we're not perfect and we're still working, and but I can tell you it is nothing like the pain and the heaviness that I felt um over the time, yeah.
I do got one question with
Mhm.
the Zechariah verse. I know that there was like things he said that had hurt you that you had to forgive, right?
Mhm.
Um, when how did the deliverance for forgiveness happen for you? Like, was it just a choice, or did God kind of come through? And I only ask that because as women we don't know how to really truly forgive, and so
Yeah.
I kind of
But we
because you
do.
went through enough where I'm like, okay, so like you
How
didn't
you
got the
do it?
verbal abuse, yeah, you because we'll be like, and you remember when you did blah blah blah, but when we forgive, we're really not supposed to
Yeah.
do that. So
I think
what?
the true forgiveness came from me. So I would say, like, okay, I forgave him and things, but I would still be like, this still hurts, and this still hurts,
Yeah.
and this still hurts.
Yeah.
I'm still da da da. But I think that was truly lifted once I started to hear my husband speak his truth about how he felt about me, and then I started to see his truth in God, like his image in God and who God is. Like, I honestly think that the only thing that made me fully forgive that man was when we both had a relationship together and individually with God, because I knew, like, without him having a connection to God, he was going to keep going on his own understanding. And with his own
Yes.
understanding came the abuse, came the arguments, came whatever he thought his opinions were and what he thought was right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't stick with that. So I truly believe that I fully forgave him, and it was completely lifted from my heart. I have to say, like, when we were baptized. Like, I know
Okay.
that sounds so cliche, but like literally when we were baptized, and then I started to notice, like, he really, I think he came home and he was like, I don't want to do anything like drinking, and like it was like
Oh, he
completely
got
like,
delivered. Like,
yeah, like it was a real switch. Because I remember before going, like, I had already been going through um a sort of deliverance where I didn't, because I
mhm.
used to like smoke marijuana. Like, I'm transparent. I used to smoke marijuana, like especially when we were really in depth and deep of that pain. Marijuana was what I was turning to, not God. Before my friend brought me to church,
Right.
she tried to bring me to church for 3 months. She met me in March, and I didn't go
Wow.
to that church until September.
I see you. I
I
see
that
you. Yeah.
Yeah, like she tried March of 2022. She tried to
Hmm.
bring me to that church, and I was just nervous. I was nervous. I was nervous. I was like enemy, and
Hmm.
yeah. So I had started losing a desire to smoke marijuana because I had realized that that's what was like. We would get into an argument. He would yell at me, or he would do whatever, and I would go outside and I would smoke, and that was the only thing that would make me feel less
Calm you
angry
down.
or like less attached to whatever was going on, and I feel like I could just go to
Hmm.
sleep. And because without that,
Mm.
I didn't have an appetite. I was depressed. I was anxious, and every morning I was waking up, I had to wake up to like rain sounds or like immediately turn on affirmations because my stomach would be in a knot. So I had already started
Oh
feeling like
wow.
that. I don't want to, because I was like, what's the argument going to be about today? What am I going to get yelled at about today, or do wrong, or feel too sensitive about? Um, and so I started feeling that kind of like I shouldn't smoke as much. I was relying on it before him. And I remember
Hmm.
before going on that trip, I was like, well, we should really stop smoking. Like, we should really stop doing that. And
Hmm.
not to push on him, but just mention, like, have you considered that? Like, just we don't smoke anymore. And before he was like, I probably smoke till I'm old. Like, he was just one of those, he always smoked. Like, from a teenager, he always smoked. Outside of the Navy, when he was in the Navy and he couldn't do it. Um,
It was, yeah, that
so
was the norm. Hmm.
exactly. So he felt like, I don't think I ever really stopped smoking. We drove into our parking lot and was like, I think I'm going to try to cut down on smoking. And I was
What?
like,
Wait a minute.
and I was literally seeing God, like, and I was like, I can't hold things over this man's head. Like, it no longer felt like I can't have the right to hold this man's actions. He's no longer that person. And I have to believe that. Like, once he gave his life to God and he is new, if God is viewing him as though he is new, I have no right to sit here and hold
Right.
against him his wrongdoings for his past before he gave his life to God. And I think that's when I truly forgave him, and I don't hold anything I speak of right now, anything I tell y'all, even some of the things I don't tell y'all. I truly, I don't feel no type of way towards him about it. Are those points in my life where I may get emotional, I may cry, like, wow, I really saw that. Like, we really saw those things, and that was ugly. But that's a cry of like, God will pull you through. Like, he'll pull
Right.
you all the way through. But I would never hold against him because that was not him. Like, I'm telling you, we were gonna move out of that apartment. I remember one night we got home, we could feel like we had our door open, and it was like we were peeking out the door. It was dark. We both kept looking,
So there was
and I
something
was
there.
like, and I'm like, why are you keep looking? And he's like, you feel like there's something there, right? And I was like, yeah. There were nights where my son, I would wake up, my eyes would open, and my son would start crying. We had a 2 bedroom. He would start crying, and I'm like, how are we crying and fussing at the same time? Something is and I'm waking up middle of the night, and you're crying middle of the night.
Yeah.
Something's disturbing our peace. So I would sleep
Peace.
with the Bible open I wasn't reading the Bible yet. I hadn't read the
But you
Bible
were
yet.
like,
I never
listen, this
studied the
word gonna
Bible
do
yet.
something. Like,
But I would have the Bible open on our counter just so something knew that whatever it was knew like God, somebody believed
God's
in me. God
here.
in the phone. Um,
Wow.
that's how
That
much we
is
were fighting.
that is, I mean, like, this is okay. So of course, I'm probably gonna have you come back
Hmm.
about a lot more, and and as far as the warfare is concerned, just
Yeah.
you're talking about that. Okay, but because I know I've got you way longer than I was supposed to. Okay, I
I'm
want you to
okay.
okay, I want you to tell people how they can reach you. Like, how can they support what you do business wise, and yeah, go ahead. Tell them
Yeah.
how they can, because I know this, you guys, and I don't care. I will be utilizing. Seriously. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So you can find me on TikTok at the Coach Mia, on Instagram at the Coach Mia. On my Instagram, I have a link tree. It connects you to my YouTube. You can find me on YouTube under Tamiah Luster. I have some videos up there. I will have something special coming really soon, where this, more of this testimony will be shared, more of my insights, more of the things I've learned. But I haven't released it yet. But if you would like to receive coaching from me or just have a conversation, you can send me a direct message on my Instagram, the Coach Mia, and I will be opening back up my scheduling. Um, what is that? Squarespace. I'll be opening that back up, and you can book a session with me. And then if you say you came through Jamie, I have like a hookup, But your first session is free. So like your first session is so like
Oh, really?
the first session is always free because that's like I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me, we kind of see if things work.
Mhm.
So I never charge. It's a discovery call. The name the name left me.
Right.
But yeah, your discovery call is always free. And it's just for you to let me know, what do you need, what are you experiencing, what do you feel like, how can I best support you, and then from there on
Mhm.
we figure out a plan that works best for you. But everything is the Coach Mia, and then Tamiah Luster on YouTube, and that's how you can find me.
Oh, I'm so excited. One more thing. I do want you to leave the viewers, something that you want them to remember, like
Mhm.
some advice that you want them to take with them from your testimony,
Yeah.
and yeah, in your life.
Um, I would say don't make all your moves based on what you can see at the moment, um, because looks are very deceiving. So
Right.
I would say pray about it, put God in the center of it, and then see what it turns into. Because you'd be very surprised. And remember, we're not leaning on our own understanding, and we walk by faith and not by sight. So don't always look at what's in your face. I know as women these days, it's like if it looks, it's what it looks like. That's what it, like if it don't show up this way, I'm out. If it's a marriage, if it's somebody you're committed to and you see yourself marrying,
Hmm.
and you are safe, you are safe, you are not in harm's way. I would never condone somebody who's not safe, or that
Right.
man is not respecting you in terms, or it's infidelity, things like that's different. Even with infidelity, pray. Like
Right.
just pray and keep
Because
your
yeah, yeah, pray.
yeah.
That's all.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm not. We're gonna end, you guys.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you personally, and then I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to go anywhere. I want to talk to you once I hit end on this thing. Um, that this has been very eye opening for me, and I don't believe if I would have met you even 2 months ago that I would have been able to receive your testimony the way I needed to today.
Wow.
And so, um, thank you. Thank you. Like I first of all I have to thank Humble Dad for even asking me to be on his podcast. Like I don't even know how that happened, if you want me to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And then for me meeting you that night, and for you saying yes, to coming on this show, and not really knowing me, right? And so thank you. And once we end this, I will explain to her why. But you guys, make sure you tune into this episode. It will air this month, March. You will see nice clips from it. Please make sure that you support her. Even if you don't want coaching, you may know somebody that needs coaching. And so it would be very selfish if you did not, shoot her information to them.
Yeah.
Okay. And thank you guys and have a good night.
Yes, thank you.